Hello and welcome to Mirror Mind, the channel where we dive deep into the complex world of narcissistic personality disorder. In today's episode, we're going to explore a very important and often misunderstood topic, the role of ego and shame in NPD. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss future content. And if you're returning, welcome back. Let's get started. Before we dive into the heart of today's topic, let's first talk about what NPD, Narcissistic Personality Disorder, really is in simple terms. Imagine someone who constantly needs validation. They always want to be admired, praised, and seen as special even if deep down they don't really believe they are. They may talk about their achievements nonstop, act like they know everything, or seem to have very little empathy for what other people are going through. This isn't just someone being a bit full of themselves. This is a pattern of thinking, feeling, and behaving that deeply affects how they relate to others and how they see themselves. NPD is more than just arrogance. It's a defense mechanism. It's like a mask they wear to protect something very fragile underneath. And that's where ego and shame come into the picture. Let's break it down. What do we mean by ego? In psychology, the ego is basically our sense of self, how we see ourselves, how we think others see us, and how we think we fit into the world. It's our identity. Now, a healthy ego helps us feel confident and grounded. It lets us know we're worthy, that we matter, and that we have value. But in NPD, the ego is not healthy. It's inflated, like a balloon pumped with too much air. It looks big on the outside, but it's fragile and can pop easily. Why is the ego so inflated in narcissistic individuals? Because it's overcompensating. It's protecting something that feels small, weak, or broken on the inside. And that something is often shame. Shame is a deep, painful feeling that there's something wrong with who you are. It's different from guilt. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am bad. It goes straight to the core of your identity. Now imagine feeling that way about yourself, but instead of dealing with it or healing it, you bury it. You cover it up with a fake version of yourself that seems powerful, confident, and perfect. That's what many people with NPD do without even realizing it. They build a false self. And that false self is powered by ego, designed to hide the shame they feel inside. So now that we've defined ego and shame, let's talk about how they work together in someone with NPD. Think of ego as the armor and shame as the wound underneath. The person with NPD builds up this image of themselves, superior, admired, always right, because they're trying to avoid the shame that's hidden underneath. They can't bear to feel it, so their ego steps in to protect them. But here's the twist: the bigger the ego, the deeper the shame. That's why narcissistic behavior can seem so extreme, why they get angry when criticized, why they fish for compliments, why they struggle to form real emotional connections. It's all about keeping that fragile ego intact so the shame doesn't come spilling out. And sadly, many people with NPD aren't even aware this is happening. They believe the mask is who they really are. Let's make this more relatable. Imagine someone who brags constantly about their career. They post nonstop on social media about their accomplishments. They dismiss other people's successes and always bring the conversation back to themselves. On the surface, they seem confident. But if you dig deeper, you might find that they're terrified of being seen as ordinary, or worse, being seen as a failure. Their ego is on overdrive. And underneath it, there's shame. Shame that they're not good enough, shame that they're not lovable unless they're achieving something. Or think about someone who gets extremely defensive when criticized. Even if you say it kindly, they lash out or go cold. That's because criticism threatens their ego, and letting that crack open means facing their shame. This dynamic shows up in relationships, at work, on social media, everywhere. And the people around someone with NPD often feel confused, manipulated, or emotionally drained. You might wonder, why is it important to understand this? Because recognizing the role of ego and shame can help us respond with more clarity and less confusion. It can also help those who are trying to heal from narcissistic abuse see that the narcissist's behavior wasn't about them, it was about the narcissist protecting their own wounds. At the same time, understanding this dynamic is also important for those who suspect they might have narcissistic traits themselves. It offers a path towards self-awareness and healing. If you can recognize your shame and start to face it without letting your ego block it, you can begin to change. So, to wrap this up, in narcissistic personality disorder, ego and shame are like two sides of the same coin. The ego is loud, proud, and flashy, but it's built to hide the deep, quiet pain of shame. Understanding this doesn't excuse bad behavior, but it does explain it. And from that understanding, we can build better boundaries, better conversations, and better healing. Thanks for listening to this episode of Mirror Mind. If you found it helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need it. Until next time, take care of your mind and keep looking inward.